in the iceberg because he was caught up in a storm after he fled the air temple. This cost him almost his life and appas, which in turn triggered his avatar state and caused him to waterbend a giant iceberg big enough to contain him and Appa for 100 years. This happened because Aang was trying to run away after finding out that the monks intended to send him away to the Eastern Air Temple to complete his training, which would have separated him from Monk Gyatso. It gets interesting here though. I mean, how did Aang remain alive while being trapped in a giant iceberg? Under normal circumstances, a person would not have survived that long, because generally speaking, a human being can survive immense cold at around -32 degrees Celsius. Beyond this, hypothermia can occur. Yet Aang somehow survived this ordeal, even though a typical iceberg may have an interior temperature of -15 to -20 degrees Celsius. Aang defies this fact and still survives. This leaves us with two theories. It is impossible to be in a coma for such a long time. The average period for which a person can stay in a coma lasts from weeks to months. But a century? Definitely no. This leaves us with our other theory. We know for sure that Aang was not in the avatar state throughout the time that he was in the iceberg. We know this for a fact because Aang seemed to be totally unconscious until the iceberg floated to the surface level and his tattoos began to glow. Even at that, Aang didn't come alive until Katara busted him out of the iceberg. But it even gets weirder. Aang's iceberg wasn't a typical ice that formed on its own. Aang practically bended it, so this might suggest that the iceberg wouldn't have been subjected to normal ice behavior. But we also have to keep in mind that the iceberg didn't just pop into existence, because Aang made it through water bending, and any element that is bended can be tampered with, whether through bending or not, so long as it is a form of interference. With this in mind, this fact does not make Aang's iceberg invincible to the weather. Therefore, we can safely assume that the iceberg did not melt because somehow Aang made it as real as any typical ice that forms on its own. These icebergs typically have a lifespan of 3,000 years before they show any sign of melting. Again, it may have stayed that long because the iceberg never floated to warmer waters. And compared to 3,000 years, Aang's 100 years is just a fraction of it. The answer to this question cannot be scientifically or medically answered. Unlike Captain America, who was able to survive 70 years of being frozen, due to being injected with a super serum which slowed the natural development of his body, Aang had no such injection. Having established the fact that Aang was not in the avatar state, we can either assume that Aang somehow tapped into the knowledge of past avatars and learned particularly the technique of prolonging one's life from Avatar Kyoshi, or maybe through some weird unexplainable phenomenon. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video.